You should name your sword. I feel like that was a big part of Game of Thrones.
Yes. We'll name it
Cheapskate.
Discount.
Oh, I like that, dude. Woody, let's all be, dude. Obviously we don't have it in us to be red pill cool guys, but we could be the complete opposite. Sword retards who get swords and don't even fully understand the history, don't care about any of it.
I've been looking at swords. I've been looking at swords all week. I had a little bit of sword envy because for those of you non-paying customers on PKN this week, Woody and Taylor both got out their swords and shields.
Yeah.
Well, Taylor didn't have his sword. He
had a cudgel.
Stick.
I had a hockey stick, and so you really had to put me on blast for not having a sword there. Wow.
That's a fucking. You know what I saw last night? A real deal Gandalf staff made out of heavy hardwood and painted to look like it. It was on the same sword website. See, I keep going down the rabbit hole of buying this sword. I've done it like almost every night for weeks, and I'll pick the sword and I'll go through it, and then it'll be like, oh, it's 1080 steel. That Reddit thread said I should really be looking for 1050 or whatever the fuck. And I just I start, but it's like, I'm not going to go into sword battle. I'm not going on a crusade. I mean, I might, but I'm probably not going on a crusade with this sword. So why don't I? So
still Gladius style, right? You're mostly
no. Like last night I was looking at like a falchion. I was looking at, I don't like the cavalry swords, the big curvy ones. I don't like those at all, but I definitely want like a
falchion
white guy's sword.
Guard, right?
It does. The one I saw did. It had a sort of I think it's sharp on one end and not on the top, and it's got a bit of a tippy tip thing on the end, like a Bowie knife. But I want one that's got that. I don't know what you call it, but where there's sort of an inlay in the blade lengthwise, so that it doesn't get stuck in a person. You know what I mean? They got that groove down the center of the sword on both sides.
Oh yeah.
Just actually down the middle.
Oh, that's what the purpose of that was.
I've been told that's why it's on bayonets, like U.S. bayonets was.
Where it's got like that concave groove in between.
I guess it can create like when you like stab someone, it can create a suction where it's difficult to pull back out. But that groove, I guess, allows air to flow in, and so that you can withdraw it more readily. That's just what I read.
This is a requirement on your sword.
Yeah.
Go big or go home. Like get a good one. Like
and
I want your first one. You know, like sometimes you get your first sword, and then it informs what you really like in a sword.
See, I don't like that though. I just want to buy one fucking sword. I'm not looking to have a wall covered.
You're coming off like a casual. I just think you should know.
I am a casual. Now, what I saw last night, and it was about $600, and it was a Crusader fucking sword, Taylor. And on the hand, it had a very simple hand guard, but it was nice. But on it was engraved in Latin, like some sort of. Oh, it was the creed of the Knights Templar. It was something like truth, honor, justice, or something in like, or no, like trust in God and trust in truth and it was something like that. It says in like Latin.
Deus Vult or something.
It said some cool shit like in Latin, and then it was the same. It was that blade that I'm looking for, because I want something that's I kind of want a hand and a half sword. Like I don't want just to wave around with one hand sword. I kind of like a bastard sword, but I don't want a big long heavy thing either. I don't know.
Is a hand and a half sword a bastard sword?
It is.
Okay,
that's a Snow sword. I saw an interview with Kit Harington, who played Jon Snow, and he was talking about how the depression he went into playing Jon Snow. He's like, I'm just playing this character that's so good, like he's pure good. He does nothing wrong. He never lies. He wouldn't know how to tell one. But in my real life, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy at all. But that's how people treat me. They treat me like I'm the best guy ever. And it made me feel awful. And I just drank and did everything. Yeah, he's talking about going into this like severe depression, alcoholism, drug use, like spiral, because he had so much to live up to because people thought of him as that character. And he
help me with the names. The short assassin chick and the tall redhead, Sophia.
Arya.
Yeah.
Arya and Sansa.
Their actual actor names?
Yeah, the actress names. In any case, those two were real life friends. They look like they're not the same age, but they are. Yeah, and they would get together at night and just like hang out and talk and such. And I guess they would eat too much and get fatter And she's like, that was probably a bad move. But they would complain about the online criticism they were getting, and they hung out every night and did stuff.
On the sword discussion, Zach.
Yeah.
Pull up that one.
You guys talking about what you want in a sword. I'm the only guy here with a sword.
That's true. Woody is stomping on us right now,
and he's clearly taking good care of it.
You talk a lot of shit. I've got the best sword on the show by far.
It's so sharp, he dare not touch it.
What does it say on the side?
In Latin, it says, "Through laziness we prosper."
Truth, justice, and rust.
That was a Persian like dagger sword thing he just showed there. Yeah, it's got the pommel with an elephant on the head.
Zach, pull it up, but open the picture that's down there with the blade out, and you can see kind of the serrated decorative blade plus the elephant pommel. If you can pull that.
Look how the trunk is part of the handguard.
This one. Yeah, the trunk is part of the handguard. Like something like this in the Persian style is so fucking sick. That's so cool.
I hate that it's serrated.
Oh, it's probably more like decorative than like a function sword, but I like that. Ooh, that's pretty cool.
Keep that thing away from me. It's like a Ginsu knife.
Yeah, I like it. That's sweet, and it's only $2,000. Oh, I like that, dude. Woody, let's all be, dude. Obviously we don't have it in us to be red pill cool guys, but we can be the complete opposite. Sword retards who get swords and don't even fully understand the history, don't care about any of it.
It looks like it's an Italian or something. Does anyone have any idea what this sword is or what it means?
Hold up the language again.
I think it's hard for me to read. I can't imagine you do a lot better.
Oh yeah, that is. It's upside down.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that.
Colada del Cid.
Colada del Cid.
En Toledo. El Cid, wasn't he like a Spanish?
He was a meat gazer of the 1500s.
He was a meat gazer. You'd have to
the dullest blade in the West.
It's pointy though. Like this part actually it's pokier than you might guess.
He is so confident in his abilities, he does not even begin to take care of his equipment. It's Mexican now.
It means it's alloy steel. Well,
without impurities.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
Wonder what grade. Anywho,
either way, I think you should,
the one you wish you had.
You should lean into
the reason they quench the swords in oil, Woody, is because they can change the temperature of oil because oil doesn't have a boiling point, so they can have their oil heated up so that it cools the steel more slowly. It also cools steel more slowly than a water quench that would be this really fast quench that could make the steel brittle. That's so. And it was a little bit what I said.
Would you choose each? Do you know?
No, I'm not. I definitely don't.
Okay. That's the next step.
I think it depends on the alloy of the steel and how much spring you want in it. That's the whole thing, right? You're getting that fine line between a sword that's hard but not brittle, and because you don't want you want the sword to bend. I know a lot of people
they also want
steel.
They like take the temper off for while they're working it. And then I think you're extra focused on the final product, but to someone making it, they also want it malleable during the working.
I suppose. Yeah. We would always just take the springs from under a car and cut out our sword, with a plasma torch or an acetylene torch, and then go to work with a big heavy grinder. We would make swords like that because that's good steel. That's like
I know. Steel. I haven't done it, but I got a little bee in my bonnet about knife making at one point, and people would use leaf springs for that.
Yeah, and they're cheap. They're like, especially back then, we go to the junkyard, and they're like basically free.
Yeah,
I always like going to the junkyard. We would go to the junkyard all the time if we were like working on something and we needed like a headlight or something, and it's just this ocean of cars that have all been in collision. So each one tells a little story, and so as a kid, I would just be out there exploring. He would be there to buy like some part. What they do is they take all the good expensive shit off every car and it's stored inside and cataloged. So we'd be buying on a transmission or something, but I'd be outside just going through cars some of them would have blood stains in them. If a car gets hit in the rear, if you're sitting still and you get hit in the rear, it drives you back into your seat because the car is trying to go forward and you can't. And so you would see, like, especially I guess if it was a heavier driver, it would bend the seat backwards, like in that type of collision. So I always like to explain. And there's change in those cars too. That's just up for grabs. I found all sorts. I found a gun in one time. There was a pistol laying in the car. I as a kid, I just reported it. Obviously, I was like, "There's a gun in that car," and somebody did something about it. But you'd find pepper spray and always change. And like 8-year-old me is like stealing all the change, of course.
Zach had me hook, line, and sinker. He's like, the name of the second sword is El Cid Escalada. It's the sword of a knight from medieval Spain, 100% real. And then there's like a pause. As the trench knife Taylor got on Amazon. Well, fuck.
This is a magical sword you have. Only the true king can wield it.
But it is a Spanish sword. All right, so that's going to be my thing. I'm the Spanish guy.
Okay. Yeah, I can't pick the sword.
I've chosen,
and I don't want to collect. I feel like you start collecting swords, you join a very weird group of people.
You can only be so sexy, right? Like you get a sword collection, you start bragging about your 40,000 achievement points on Xbox, and before long, save some pussy for the rest of us.
Exactly. I'm a completionist. You don't even understand. Like, nobody cares. So I don't want a collection of fucking edged weapons. I do just kind of like want a nice
I have
sword.
A collection of. I don't think of them as weapons.
Yeah, your knives are a little different. They're almost like jewelry or like little mechanisms. I know that's what you appreciate. I always am interested in the interesting mechanisms, the ones that are something different than out the front or fold open or
they call it the action.
Open. Anything that like has a mechanism that's over designed.
I have one that opens sideways out of the handle, which I think is really neat. And it takes a little bit of practice to do it with one hand, but I can do it.
I want that shark killing knife. Like that to me is the king of knives. Like if you're a knife guy, yeah, it's I don't remember what they call it, but that knife, when it's like a shark knife, and if you stab, it immediately dumps a CO2 cartridge through the tip of the blade and just destroys whatever you've stuck it into. Like that kind of cavitation is lethal, just especially to a fucking fish.
Bunch of good parts about guitar too that the media won't tell us. Let's look up.
I just saw Jackie. She said, my sword, hold your hats, is worth between $70 and $90, making it the most valuable sword on the show.
Oh, by an infinite measure.
Well, by $70 to $90.
Percentage-wise, you have a sword worth billions the time of our combined swords.
Every sword you should name your sword. I feel like that was a big part of Game of Thrones.
Ooh, yes. We'll name it
Cheapskate.
Discount.
This isn't like the exact book, but it's close. This is probably like a reprint that's much newer, but they were books like this.
Exactly.
Where you would turn through and it was a ton of photos where it'd be like, this is a sword used by the Persian Empire in the year fucking 380 BC. And be like, wow, neat. And then it went by era. And so I remember just flipping back and forth and being like, could this 15th century knight with this like crazy halberdier take on this samurai from this time? There was a dinosaur one. I wasn't as big on the dinosaur one. I like the weapons one the most.
I was big. We had weapons at home. I was very much familiar. I liked the dinosaurs. I mean, what is this? Anyone who teaches a woman self-defense is setting up for failure.
Swords and sabers. I mean, now I'm going to buy some.
It's like Taylor and I were very different children. He's here like enthusiastically reading these books. I remember this. This is a true story. I'm like 13 years old and my parents